Welcome to our prop show for the NFL playoffs, at least wild card weekend. And the name of the show is the NFL Playoff Prop Show. Kevin Rogers with you here on our YouTube channel on VegasInsider TV. And there are 6 games coming up in the wild card round this weekend. We have 2 Saturday, Seahawks and 49ers, followed by Chargers, Jaguars. Then on Sunday, you have a 3-pack of Dolphins, Bills, Giants, Vikings, Ravens, Bengals. Then Monday, it ends in Tampa between the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. So we're going to concentrate all on player props here with a pick on all 6 games. And let's bring in our prop masters to go over them. We have Bijolle, we have Sam Wagman, and they will have a pick 3 each on these games. And let's begin with the 49ers and the Seahawks on Saturday in Santa Clara. We'll begin with Jill. And Jill, your favorite prop from the Niners Seahawks is a George Kittle prop.
Yes, I am looking at George Kittle anytime score, and it is at plus money right now. I really love this one. San Francisco has the season sweep on the Seahawks. Their offense has been on fire, even with their 3 quarterbacks. That's an insane thing to think about. They're averaging 26.5 points a game. Kittle's career against Seattle is great. He has a total of 45 catches and 655 yards with 4 touchdowns over his 10 games, 11 touchdowns just this season in this past regular season. Seattle is notably horrible against covering tight ends. With an explosive tight end such as George Kittle, you kind of need to be on him, and I just don't see Seattle doing that. Seattle does have a 4-3 record on the road. They do play better at home, so there's no real surprise there. On the road against the tough Niners team, it's going to be really hard for them to play good defense.
Yeah, we'll see if Brock Purdy can continue to play well at quarterback for the 49ers. Weather could be an issue out there, but we'll see if Kittle gets into the end zone. So Jill has anytime scorer George Kittle in the 49ers Seahawks game. Now let's talk with Sam Wagman about the Chargers and the Jags. And the news coming out today that Mike Williams will not play for LA. So that means more opportunities for Austin Eckler. And Sam, what do you like with Austin Eckler on Saturday?
Yeah, and of course, first we got to start with the fact that Brandon Staley belongs to be in, a federal penitentiary somewhere for playing all of his starters through at least 3+ quarters last week, and what a meaningless game. Got Mike Williams injured and got Joey Bosa injured. But the good news that comes out of this, if there's a silver lining, is that, like Kevin said, it opens up the field for Austin Eckler, who really will crush underneath against a bad Jaguars pass defense against running backs. The Jags are awful against receiving backs. They've given up 38 or more receiving yards to 7 different backs, including Eckler, who had 8 catches for 48 yards in the first matchup earlier this season, in which the Jags jumped out to an early lead and never really looked back. And he's over this number in 10 of 17 games. And the thing with the Jaguars is that they just don't defend against receiving backs well. And there's a very strong possibility that the Jaguars jump out to an early lead here, given the fact that they have Travis Etienne, who can control the pace, and they're very willing to run the ball against the Chargers' run defense that is not strong at all and ranks in the bottom third of the league. The Jaguars rank 8th in first half points, and they allow the second fewest first half points per game. This should force the Chargers into a throwing window and allow Austin Eckler to really get going. We know Justin Herbert will target Eckler a lot. Underneath, he and Keenan Allen should be the main focal points of this game. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see Justin Herbert forced into throwing the ball 45+ times, and at least 10 of those should be to Eckler.
Yeah, and this Charger team favored on Saturday night, and the first playoff start for both Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence should be an interesting game coming up Saturday. We're going to stick with Sam here as we flip to Sunday with the Dolphins and the Bills. Buffalo a heavy favorite at home. Skylar Thompson is going to start for Miami, so we'll see how much offense they produce. But Stephon Diggs, though, we'll see how many targets he gets from Josh Allen. And Sam, what do you like with Stephon Diggs?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of these bets. I picked Stephon Diggs for his longest reception to go over 24.5 yards. And you can find this over on BetMGM at -120. This is hit in 11 of 16 games this season. And he's hit and missed in the 2 games against Miami earlier this season. Now, the Dolphins are pretty much a pass funnel defense. They're pretty strong against the run, especially since they added Bradley Chubb earlier in the season from the Denver Broncos. And they've given up a 25-plus yard reception in 16 of 17 games this season. Now, we know the Bills are willing to throw the ball. We also have to think about the fact that Skylar Thompson has been confirmed as the starter for Miami, but I don't think that matters that much for this Bills team. Sure, it could force them into throwing a little bit less, but we've seen the Bills pile on the points at will whenever they want to. We know the Bills can score a lot of points. They're very able to put up 35 plus points. And I think a lot of that will come from a strong game from Stephon Diggs, who is obviously Josh Allen's favorite target. And we have to figure there's at least a 60% chance that if Josh Allen throws the ball deep, if it's not going to Gabriel Davis, it's probably going to Stephon Diggs. Buffalo is willing to throw the ball. In the first matchup against the Miami Dolphins this season, Josh Allen threw the ball 63 times in a 21-19 loss. He threw the ball almost the entire second half. And despite that, when they matched up in their last game a few weeks ago, which the Bills won 32-29 in the Winter Wonderland at Orchard Park, Allen threw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he threw the ball 40 times as well. Allen's perfectly willing to throw the ball deep. It looks like his elbow has, for the most part, recovered from his earlier injury in the season, and I think Stephon Diggs is going to be a big part of this. Also in play is the fact that Diggs is a big playoff guy. He loves to perform in the playoffs. Obviously, he's famous for the Minneapolis Miracle from when he was with the Minnesota Vikings. I think he shows out in a big way as the Bills continue to look to keep the train rolling. They're rolling on the momentum of DeMar Hamlin recovering. I think they're the sentimental pick, and I think Stephon Diggs has a big game in this one.
And we transition, Sam, from Stephon Diggs' new team to his old team, the Vikings. They play the Giants coming up in the middle game on Sunday afternoon. Minnesota snuck by New York just a few weeks ago in a last-second field goal, and the Vikings, they're going to turn to their big gun at receiver, Justin Jefferson, and Jill Bijolle, she has a prop on Justin Jefferson. What do you like with JJ there, Jill?
Yeah, give me Jay Jettis, over 91.5 receiving yards. Minnesota's offense has been crazy good this season. And let's be real, we have to give some props to Kirk Cousins, who is playing, well, the best we've really ever seen him. Jay Jettis has become his most trusted target. They have the eighth ranked scoring offense. Justin Jefferson has had an unreal season thus far. He has recorded 10 games with at least 100 receiving yards. We also have to look back that week 16 game that you mentioned, Kevin. He went 12 of 16, 133 receiving yards, and did get a touchdown. This is the Giants' first playoff game since 2016. And let's also take a point to look at the entire team. This is pretty much their first time in the playoffs. This is a big deal for them. That does make a big difference in the playoffs. The Giants have only one road win since week 7. They can stay competitive. We did see this in week 16, but the Vikings team is overall going to top it, and they will be using their main guy, Justin Jefferson, for sure.
And we go from now another transition here, Jill. Justin Jefferson's another LSU star, former LSU star, in Jamar Chase as the Bengals take on the Ravens. And back to Sam. And Jamar Chase, we'll see what he does against this Ravens defense. But Sam, what do you like as far as a Jamar Chase prop?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jamar Chase going over 6.5 receptions, and you can find that at even money on PointsBet. And Kevin has it up here at plus 105 as well. This is going over 9 of 12 games, which is nuts that they're hanging such a low number. And he hasn't missed on this since September. So he's gone over this in both games against Baltimore this season. He had 7, and then he had 8 in the recent game. And what's nuts about this number is that T. Higgins is dealing with a hip pointer, and he could be limited. Tyler Boyd came out of the game briefly last week to check for concussion symptoms, and he's been banged up a little bit with finger injuries. You don't run against Baltimore. You throw the football, and Joe Burrow is going to throw. We already know that. And despite the fact that we're dealing with another game like Miami and Buffalo, where the quarterback on the other side will be extremely limited, it does look like it's either going to be Tyler Huntley or Anthony Brown at the time of this recording. Burrow throws the ball a ton. He had 42 and 35 attempts against Baltimore this season. Obviously, the 35 attempts came in the last game, but he's definitely willing to throw the ball even against a lesser opponent. And Cincinnati showed that they don't need to run the ball to win, even against an inferior opponent. And they're not going to underestimate Baltimore, who is a tough divisional opponent, has a very strong defense. But Marlon Humphrey can't be everywhere at once. And despite the fact he's going to stick on Chase through the majority of this matchup, Chase lines up all over the field. And he's going to get some of the lesser Baltimore cornerbacks as well. I see Chase going well over this number. He could have an 8 or 9 catch game. He's the engine that makes this Cincinnati offense run. And I expect him to go well over 6.5 receptions here.
And the final game, Monday night, the Cowboys and the Buccaneers in Tampa. Cowboys a short favorite here. We go back to Jill and Tony Pollard. You have your eye on him for a rushing prop. What do you like with that, Jill?
I'm actually going to take him. I'm liking my overs this week. I am taking him over 47.5 rush yards. I got that at -115. Dallas does lead the series between these two teams, currently at 15-6. This game, they are definitely going to utilize their two-back system, and I will get into that in a second. But Tony Pollard has an average of 49 rush yards in his last 5 games. He has hit this over in his last 6 of 7 away games. Now, Tampa's defense is good, but they're really good, especially at putting pressure on the pass. And Dak does not handle that well, which leads me to believe he is going to really utilize both Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard to be going up and down the field. Also on that, Todd Bowles loves to blitz, another thing that Dak does not handle well. So I really see a big game for both backs, but more importantly, I love Tony Pollard in this two-back system.
So there you go. You got 6 props, 1 for every game, 3 from Jill, 3 from Sam. And we're going to do this again coming up next week for the divisional round, and still have more props for that. If you want to find Jill and Sam on Twitter, you can find Jill at It's Jill Bijolle, Bijole. And I guess we say S Wagman or Swagman, S Wagman 95. You can find Sam also on there. Both great from the prop standpoint. You can find their work at Vegas Insider. Jill and Sam, thank you so much, and best of luck coming up this weekend.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck,
All
guys.
right, that's Jill Bijolle and Sam Wagman. I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of the 2023 NFL Playoff Prop Show here on Vegas Insider.